Hey, everybody. Hey, Todd. Good to see you. Everybody else is joining. Um, really appreciate the opportunity. I got asked if I was interested in participating in the Coach's Corner series this year, and I said I would. I was going to leave the strategy and nuts and bolts things to others, and I wanted to talk about something that I was probably more qualified to talk about, which was building and maintaining successful club teams. By way of introduction, I'm Brian Coughlin. My real job is I serve as Associate Vice President for Student Development at the University of Notre Dame. And I've also been the volunteer head coach of the women's club water polo team for the last 28 years, which is weird because I started when I was like 6, and so I'm only 35. Yeah, that must be right. Um, I really wanted to talk a lot about what makes a good, solid club, and this is primarily for club leaders, mostly students, I would assume, or club coaches. But I believe there's probably some stuff in here that would be pertinent to other coaches and administrators. Certainly, it's going to be heavily focused on some student development things that I do in my day-to-day life that actually influences greatly what I bring into coaching. And so hopefully you'll learn a little bit there, and bear with me while I go through some of those things, and then we'll wrap up and I'll share what I think makes the Notre Dame club what it has been over the last couple decades, and how our success is rooted in that. And so in order to discuss maintaining success, first we have to understand things on a foundational level. And I think anyone that has been coached by me or supervised me or by me over the last 30 years isn't going to be surprised that I'm going to take you down to some root levels of some things, and to talk about some foundational things. We have to understand and know what success look like for each club, because it can be very different, and the elements that goes into that success. But even before we do that, I think it's important to understand what a club or what a team is and why people join them in the first place. So let's get started with that. Oh, I guess I got to move over here. There we go. So why do people join clubs? I think they join it for the love of the activity. In our case, love of our sport. That's usually the entry. Why people join some of our clubs. Some of the other college clubs that we deal with here at Notre Dame, students join to network, or they want to enhance their resume in some way, shape, or form. That's not usually why they're joining our clubs, but certainly can be a reason. People join to meet other people, to be social. They're searching for community. They're searching for their place on campus. And that leads me to this probably most important one, which is why I highlighted it. People join clubs because they're seeking a sense of belonging. I would hypothesize that people are really going to join things maybe for the first, second, or third reason, but they stay for the fourth. Here at Notre Dame, we have 535 student clubs and organizations. I just met with the director of student activities the other day, and she told me there's 27 more applying to be recognized for the fall semester. We only have 9,000 undergrads at Notre Dame. We have another 3,000 grad students. So why would a school with 12,000 people need 550 student clubs and organizations? It's because people crave connection. They crave community in their lives, and they claim this sense of belonging that I'm talking about. So what is it? What is a sense of belonging? Well, it's a fundamental human need that we all have. It takes us all the way back to our ancestors. It was really something primal. Why do we need to belong to a group that's greater than ourselves? Well, most of the time it was about protection, shared resources, raising our offspring. Today, it's mostly about our health and wellness. It's about our mental health and our physical health. We'll come back to a little bit on this stuff later. But belonging is not as simple as signing up or joining. Belonging's a feeling. The author Brene Brown, some people are familiar with her. She has a quote that if I have to be like you, I fit in. If I can be myself, I belong. And so, how do we realize when we actually belong to a group? When I talk to student groups and we're trying to establish that sense of belonging in not only our club, but other student groups on campus, we ask questions like, can you show up and be your authentic self? Are you accepted for who you are? Are you supported? Are you valued by the group? And do you matter? These are the things that we're all really searching for. And this is why we continue to looking. And these are the reasons we join these organizations, whether we realize it or not. This idea of belonging and connection is really what's at the root of what folks in my field call, just simply referred to as the Harvard study. The Harvard study is actually titled the Harvard Study on Adult Development, and it's currently headed by a professor at Harvard named Robert Waldinger. He has a great TED Talk on the Harvard study, so if you have some extra time and you want to listen to another TED Talk, the one on the Harvard study is really a fantastic listen. But let me summarize some of it for you here. The Harvard study has been around for the past 85 plus years, and they have followed 724 men, half of whom were sophomores at Harvard in the 1930s when it started, and the other half were boys from impoverished neighborhoods in Boston. They interviewed these students, they questioned them, they had their access to their medical records, and then they've tracked them every other year with more questions and more interviews for the last 85 years. What are they trying to figure out? They're trying to figure out what makes a good life and what keeps us healthy and happy. They're trying to figure out what, if there's a key, if it was the way you were raised, how much money you had, your success. What did they find out? Well, they found out that it's not about wealth or fame or achievements. Having a good life and finding health and happiness is about social connection. Social connections are good for us. They lead us to a sense of belonging. And it's not the number of social connections, but it's rather the quality and the depth of those connections. It turns out that good relationships, ones that give us life, ones that increase that sense of belonging in us, they actually protect our brains and protect our bodies. Loneliness is toxic. In fact, these relationships make us more resilient, and they enhance our engagement and our achievement. We seek belonging and we seek relationships, mostly where we can be our authentic selves. These are the things that improve our quality of life and give our lives meaning. I would propose this is why people join clubs. Now we have to talk about the success. What's at the core of successful club teams? Is it strategy? Is it techniques? Is it having the most talented players? Is it having a group of star players? Do you have secret plays? Do you have slick moves you practice every Tuesday night like our men's team used to do? I would say that it's actually culture. There's a well-known saying in business and leadership books that says culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's often attributed to a famed management consultant, Peter Drucker. But it's about not necessarily having the best strategic plan or the best playbook, but having the best culture. And so, what is culture? Culture is a shared vision, shared mission, shared goals, shared values, shared norms. And all of these things root our behaviors and actions in something that we share with the other people in our group. These are the things that give our everyday routine purpose and meaning. These kind of shared values and norms drive us to want to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. So I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. Some of the folks that I work with every day know that about me. And so this, if you don't know Ted Lasso or seen it, I highly recommend going on Apple TV and watching it. But for those who know the story, Trent Crimm, the writer, wanted to call this book The Lasso Way. And I think at times, folks associate the Notre Dame success that we've had with me. And what I would say that it's never been about me. It never has been. It's about all of us on the Notre Dame team. We established that culture together. Last year, Notre Dame women's water polo won its 500th game while I was the coach. I will never say that was I won my 500th game, because there's no award or milestone that's less an individual milestone than a coaching record or a coaching milestone. It was every person that was ever on our team, every person that ever came to a practice, and me. We won those games, and that's what it is about. And so let's talk about that and how we establish our culture and how we start from scratch and build that culture together every year. And so I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what we do. I would say to you that if you're doing this yourself, take a little bit of ours, tweak it, adjust it, scrap it all together, but use it as inspiration to create some sort of culture for your club that you can rely on when things get hard, or when you don't want to go to practice, or you don't want to do something. When you really don't or are struggling, you fall back to what is the culture of the group. And so I'll talk about the Notre Dame way. I reached out to about 30 of our former club leaders, and they were amazing in the last couple of weeks, reaching back to me with what they thought were the keys to establishing our culture. And so I called them and I put them together, and I'll present them to you here. So the 7 steps to the Notre Dame way. Number 1, everyone is welcome. And I mean, everyone is welcome. We have had players that have turned down Division I scholarships to come play on our club team. And we have had people walk through our activities fair at the beginning of the year who can't swim and decided water polo is the thing for me. And they've showed up to our practice, and they are just as welcome as the most accomplished player that shows up. Every player has the same value. Everyone matters. Everyone deserves respect and an opportunity to grow. I give so much credit to students in 2025 who come to an activities fair and take the risk and are brave enough to try something completely new. In this world where we're always trying to just, do what we're good at, we don't want to be embarrassed, or we don't want to have anybody see us fail. The risk and the courage it takes to sign up for something like water polo, if you really don't know what you're doing, that's awesome. And we love to have those people on our team. The only conditions we put on someone to the everyone is welcome is you have to work hard, and you have to be willing to work hard, even if you're not good at water polo. As long as you're working as hard as you can, great. And don't bring drama. Check your drama at the door. That's not what we're about. The second one is student leadership. And here at Notre Dame, because we're a Catholic institution, we root our student leadership in Catholic social teaching, and we root it in servant leadership. It's leadership that's based on putting others above yourself. We have formal leaders and we have informal leaders. Our captains are our formal leaders. They are selected every year by the rest of the team. They have to be nominated. They give speeches. They tell why they want to lead the team. And then their teammates select them. I have nothing to do with that. In fact, it's just the exact opposite. Once they're selected, they sit down and they decide what kind of team they want for the upcoming year. They can decide to have a fun team. a team that's way more social, a team that wants to compete for the national championship, a team that wants to fall someplace in between. They make those decisions, not me. And then they come and they rehire me if they want to every year. So I have been hired by the Notre Dame women's water polo captains 27 times. We have an interview, we sit down, and they talk to me about what kind of team they want to have, and I talk to them about what I can contribute to that style of a team. They establish all of the goals. They establish all of the playing guidelines. So if you don't have a coach and you're a student leader and you're watching this, know that you can do what we're doing. You just don't have, you know, someone like me standing there at the end of the day, but you're doing the same things in terms of establishing culture and goals and what kind of team you're going to have that we do every single year. The informal leaders are any returners that's not a captain. They too are role models for our team. We say to every returning player that your job is to prepare someone to take your place, either that season or after you leave. Student leaders provide guidance. They teach when I'm not present, which is in the fall every other day. They motivate each other. They hold each other accountable, and they provide all the logistics. It's an amazing student leadership experience that I know many of them have talked about in their grad school interviews and their employment interviews. Number 3 is commitment. And that's a tough word today, and I totally understand that. Commitment is hard. It's not an easy thing to do, to commit to something, because it requires sacrifice. And most people right now are really having a hard time giving that level of commitment to anything. But that's one of the things that we require as a team. But it's a two-way commitment. You attend practices, you attend tournaments because your teammates are relying on you to do so, even when you don't feel like going, even when you've had a hard week. You go as much for others as you go for yourself. But the team owes you something too. The team's making a commitment back to you. We have to have well thought out practices, practices that are efficient and impactful, practices that make a difference, because we have to honor your time and your commitment to us. And so that's why we spend time making sure that everything we do has a purpose and a meaning. The team's also there for you and there to support you. They have to do that because you're doing it for them. Number 4 is to offer clear expectations and accountability. We set clear expectations from the start about what our practices are, what we expect from folks at practices, what our tournament schedule is going to look like, what travel looks like, out of the pool responsibilities, fundraising, getting the pool set up and torn down, what our ideas are for timeliness and communication. And we make sure that everyone on the team knows that. And then here's the hard part. Now we hold each other accountable. We don't let things fester. We do this not because there's power and authority in coaches and captains. We do this because we care about each other. If you're part of something and people have made a commitment to it and you've made a commitment to them, holding each other accountable is a form of care. It's a form of culture building. It's a form of belonging. If you have expectations and you don't hold people accountable, you're actually not doing them any favors. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're avoiding a hard conversation because in the short term, it's easier for you. In the long term, it's much harder. And that peer-to-peer accountability, so difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something that we expect our captains to do. I'll be involved, but it is the peer-to-peer accountability that's the important part. We also emphasize that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have some failings and every once in a while not do or live up to the expectations. We care about each other. You know, think about your friends or your family. There's all sorts of times when there's disappointment, but you care about each other and you work through it with them. It's that kind of accountability that I'm talking about. Number 5 is consistency and routine. Every year is a new team. We start from scratch. There's no carryover. It's not a, hey, listen, last year we didn't get as far as we wanted, or we got to this point at nationals, and so we're going to pick up right there. Nope. When you have a club and you have people from all different levels of experience, we start over. And that reinforces everyone is welcome, because everyone stays on the same page. Everyone rises together. Our first month of practice, we're swimming. We're teaching egg beater. We're talking about how to make turns in the water. We're talking about how to throw a ball, how to catch a ball. And yeah, we're doing this with people who may have turned down a varsity scholarship, or people that have played all through high school. Doesn't matter. We break it all the way down and everyone rises together. And so I teach, and then the captains reteach. And then they have sessions on their own where they're teaching on their own. Tonight's a perfect example. I'm supposed to be at the pool, but I'm here talking to you all, and the captains are over there going over what I taught last night. And they're teaching it to their teammates. That's the kind of culture that we have established. We talk about, this is how we do things, and this is what we do, and this is why we do it the way we do. Captains and returners teach it to the new folks. Consistency. I had a comment from one of the folks that chimed in from the leadership, past leadership groups, that said, I bet I could go to the pool tonight and know how to run that practice. And I don't think that's stale. I think that is providing a consistent experience and a routine to our team. And that's why we do it that way. Number 6, I was just going to call this ice cream and thought that was too hokey because you guys wouldn't know what I was talking about. But I would say, out of the 25 to 30 responses I got from former team leaders, 25 of them mentioned ice cream, which made me laugh. What is the ice cream? It means that the relationships you build outside the pool are equally as important to the work you do in the pool. Our former athletic director here at Notre Dame, Jack Swarbrick, used to claim that he could tell how successful a varsity team was going to be by watching how that team left the locker room and left the building. He said if teams left in 1s and 2s, they were going to have a hard year. If teams were leaving in 3s and 4s and 5s, or the whole team, he said they were going to have great success. And that is certainly what I have found in my time coaching, that teams that care about one another, teams that love each other, teams that want to be with each other, that caring actually influences the performance in the pool. It doesn't mean that everybody has to be the same. It just means you have to care. This time you spent out of the pool during travels, over meals, getting the ice cream, matters. And it has to be everybody. It can't be, oh, the starters went to get ice cream, or the stars went to get ice cream, or the seniors went to get ice cream. That's not what it is. It's a shared experience amongst the entire group. Those relationships are the ones that the Harvard study was talking about. Those are the authentic relationships that lead to positive mental health, positive physical health, and give meaning to lives. They drive how we show up for each other at practice. And if you care about these people, you're going to come to practice even when you don't want to. When you care about them, you're going to prioritize the team or a tournament over some other social opportunity that you might have, or a football game in our case, or a sorority function or something like that, because you have that relationship and you care for these other people. It also matters when things get hard, and they will. Things will get hard in games, things will get hard in life. But if you care, that's how you show up. And I think our final one, and I'll do this and then stop talking at you, is we always talk about how when you're part of our program, you're part of something bigger than yourself. I know this line has gotten into the vernacular, but when we started using it 28 years ago, I'm not sure how many folks were using it. Certainly we didn't create it, but it is certainly more used today than it was back then. But we have used it every year since. And what does that mean to us? It means that we are representing something bigger than ourselves. We represent the university, which most of the players, if not all of the players I've ever coached, that really means something to them because this university means something to them. It means we're representing every woman that came before us. Every woman that's ever been a part of this team is something that we're representing. And probably most importantly for the current team, they're representing each other. And so this is an in the water thing. It's an out of the water thing. It influences how we show up in different spaces, how we treat families that host us, how we treat a bus driver, how we treat officials, how we hopefully are treating our opponents. That when you belong to something bigger than yourself and you're representing that to the rest of the world, it means something. Around here we have a saying that Notre Dame is for forever. And that means that the 4 years you spend here influence the rest of your life. And so that is a part of our culture. Um, and so hopefully that was beneficial to folks to hear about the 7 steps to building our team culture, but also to understand how much these social relationships matter in our lives and how much a sense of belonging influences what we do. And yes, I'm sure there are you absolutely once you get your culture established, you need to know some tactical water polo knowledge. And the CWPA has been wonderful in sharing that knowledge through these sessions. And if you want to hear about drills, and if you want to hear about front court and offense and defense and 6-on-5. I think there are some really great videos to watch, but this was one that was more aimed at clubs and culture building. And if you want to hear another one, Killian and I were talking about it beforehand that uh, uh, Jen and Blair from Santa Cruz did one 2 weeks ago that kind of goes a little bit more deeply into some of the theory stuff that I just got done talking about. They quote Simon Sinek, who's great as well, and so check out their coach's corner too. So I guess I'll just kick it back to you, and we can do questions and discussion if you'd like.
Well, thank you for that. That was awesome. Um, the question for you is, how do you navigate that? How do you, the relationship that you have with your captains when you ask them to kind of tell you what they want from you? How do you implement that in the first place? Have you ever struggled with that like power dynamic?
Yeah. I think it's a great question. It's unusual, and I think every once in a while we'll have captain elections, and I'll get a yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we want you to be our coach. Let's just move to the next stage. And I always stop it, and I always say, no, we're not going to do that right now. You're going to go away with the other folks that have been elected captain. You're going to have these real conversations with one another, and then you're going to come back and we're going to have a conversation. But we'll never do it the night of the elections. Well, no, we won't do it like I'll make them go away for a good week or two, or to really make sure they're having these discussions. And I think that helps set that tone that we are um, that I'm serious about this, that this is their club. I also think it's harder the first year or two because people aren't may not be used to it. But after you do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it becomes integrated into who we are. And the underclassmen who eventually become the team captains have seen it. And so they've had good role models from their previous captains of, oh, well, this is how we interact with him. This is how we interact with each other. These are the expectations of a captain in the Notre Dame program because we've watched really talented women do it before us.
That's awesome. got one from Todd. He said, can you talk about teaching the basics to newer players while still promoting top level play with experienced players? How do you structure practice time to allow for both?
Yeah, I think Todd's asking one of the hardest questions, especially in the beginning of the year for us. I wouldn't say it's always easy. And I have certainly been pulled aside by some very talented and skilled water polo players over the years and said, why is this taking so long, or why is this so slow? And helping them understand that they're not going to be able to be successful as, the one or two or three really talented players unless these other folks who have less experience, have less maybe water polo talent or knowledge, don't get better. And so we have a team of 7 people in the water, all pulling on the same rope philosophy. And so then it's harder for probably first year students and maybe even second year students to understand why they have to be there at the egg beater practice or the change direction practice or the catch and throw practice, because they're like, oh yeah, I have all this. But helping them understand that their success is going to be limited by the success of these other players that don't have those skills yet has been one of the ways it's helped us to navigate that. I definitely pull people aside a lot in the fall and be like, hang in there with me, give me a couple more weeks. Like, we're going to get there. Like, but let's all get there together instead of sending half the people down the pool to do something different. Everybody does the basics and the fundamentals. It establishes that everyone's on the same level. Everybody has the same role on the team, dynamic, as opposed to, hey, the really good people are over there, and you guys who are not any good or just starting to get good are down here. And we try to break down that barrier. And so we actually don't do a practice thing where we split folks up. We actually make the All Americans do the egg beater practice and do the turn practice, and then we make them actually teach it to the younger or less experienced folks when I'm not there. The captains and the more experienced folks will actually take 2 nights a week in the fall to actually be the coaches and teach those things, because and I said it in this presentation that we all rise together. And if there's 7 people in the water, and there's all the people that need to be subbed, and if we have 3 All-Americans and nobody else can do anything, doesn't really matter how good the All-Americans are. And that's hard, but it's frank adult conversations with adults to make sure that we're all on the same page.
To follow up with that, would you say even with a condensed season, like if you weren't able to get into the pool until like January,
Yeah,
because I know some of our teams only get like the one semester that they
sure.
play, would you still say it's better to all learn the basics together, even if that means you have to lose some of the strategy at the end of the season?
Yeah, I would say there is probably some value in that. You might want to set up your practice differently and say something to the effect of, do conditioning on your own, and then we'll split the practice, and the half of the practice will do fundamentals, and half the practice will do more advanced stuff, and see if the newer inexperienced folks can just learn by drinking out of that fire hose during the second half. But the first half could keep everybody on the same page, and it would require a little bit more commitment from some folks to go do that conditioning on their own. We're blessed here. We just kind of piggyback on the men's practice in the fall to kind of take half of the pool and be able to ramp ourselves up throughout the fall. And then when they come back in January, we turn the engine on full blast and take off.
Do you have any other questions?
I can't type fast enough, so I'll just ask it.
Hey,
Brian, how does your fundamentals shift from fall to spring? How much do you come back to the fundamentals that you worked on in the fall as you move through the spring season?
yeah, so it's funny you asked that, Todd. Like, I think one of the things that I'm kind of neurotic as a coach about is turns and change of possession and getting even a half a stroke up on somebody. And so we hammer it away on during the first semester about teaching it. And in the spring, I'll say things like, listen, if you're not doing these turns in your swim set, if you're not doing these turns in the drills, I'm gonna like set cones up and we're gonna just do sets of cones and you're gonna do turns until you start doing it the way you're supposed to do it, the way we taught it. And there's usually this kind of disbelief. And then I bring out the cones one night and we'll do cones for a half an hour. And that pretty much clears up that particular fundamental skill because nobody likes to see the cones go out to do the change in directions. But I would say that we incorporate it into everything, even scrimmages, so we will, I think we've all done this as coaches, right? You'll turn the ball over, people are picking the ball up on top, or if somebody, does a turn wrong, or goes to the wrong direction, I'll call it in a scrimmage as a turnover, just to reinforce those basics, especially to the more experienced folks. Might not always do it to the folks who are brand new, but it that's one of the things that we do, but the fundamentals. That help? I mean, does that get what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's been awesome. Thank you.
When are you doing one of these?
After I've been coaching for 27 years, maybe.
You're getting close, brother.
Just, keeping that in mind for spring semester.
Yeah, there you go. I'll send you a list of names. His is close to the top.
Oh, please do. I'm always looking for names. Okay. Well, any last minute thoughts before we close out?
For me, I would just say this is a great leadership lab for students, especially students that are coaching themselves in these club settings, right? That don't be afraid to lead. Don't be afraid to build these relationships. Don't be afraid to hold your peers accountable in a loving and caring way. These are all things that are going to drive your success. And the final thought I would say is the culture of water polo is that we all want to help each other, right? And so if you have questions about establishing your team or how to coach a certain thing or how to set up a practice so that you're not wasting people's time, ask each other, ask coaches on the decks of the tournaments you go to. I was taught by amazing coaches who some took us out behind the woodshed and beat us pretty good in the pool, and I would stay after and be like, can you explain to me what just happened to us? Will you teach me that play, or will you teach me how you set up your practices? I just think there are so many coaches in this sport and so many people who love this sport so much who are absolutely willing and eager to share their experiences and suggestions, even if you're a competitor, even if you're in the same conference, even if you're in the same tournament. I think people want to help and see people succeed, have fun, and build these relationships that are going to be with them throughout the course of their lives. So I would say, put yourself out there. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be bashful. Engage and ask questions.
Awesome. I think that's great advice. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you making room for us tonight, and I'm excited to
Absolutely.
share this with everyone.
All right. Take care.